Lazarus, full of sores, who was laid at his gate.
Desiring to be fed with the crumbs which fell from the rich man's table. Moreover, the dogs came and licked his sores. So it was that the beggar died and was carried by the angels to Abraham's bosom. The rich man also died and was buried.
And being in torments in Hades, he lifted up his eyes and saw Abraham afar off, and Lazarus in his bosom, and said, Father Abraham, have mercy on me, and send Lazarus that he may dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, for I am tormented in this flame.
But Abraham said, Son, remember that in your lifetime you received your good things, and likewise Lazarus evil things. But now he is comforted and you are tormented. And besides all this, between us and you there is a great gulf fixed, so that those who want to pass from here to you cannot, nor can those from there pass to us.
Then he said, I pray thee therefore, Father, that thou wouldest send him to my father's house, for I have 5 brothers, that he may testify unto them, lest they also come into this place of torment.
But Abraham said, they have Moses and the prophets, let them hear them. But he said, No, Father Abraham, but if someone goes to them from the dead, they will repent.
Bernice, you want to read verse 31?
But Abraham said, if they won't listen to Moses and the prophets, they won't be pursued even if someone raises from the dead.
Okay. First thing we want to get out of the way is this a parable? Answer.
No,
Why not?
he's using specific names, he's calling these people out.
Okay, so he used a specific name, Lazarus. You know, what is a parable? What's a parable? Everybody's whispering.
It's a spiritual application of a real life.
Okay, so you have this story that has a spiritual application, and the parables that we have been studying are things that people can relate to. And see, that's why I had on here the question is, if you're studying with somebody, if you're talking with somebody, and they're saying, I don't believe this is real, I believe this is just a parable, can you still discuss what it says even if they believe it's a parable? And the answer is yes, but I want to know why. Why can you say, well, okay, fine, it's a parable, let's talk about it. Why can you do that? Amy?
It's still teaching the same lesson. It still has the same application for us.
Okay, so make the point with parables in general. What can, from your point, what can you say about all the parables?
They're allegories and meant to be applied to real life situations that we experienced.
All right, so anytime you, go ahead.
Use them as a teaching tool.
That's exactly right. So when you think of a parable, think of any of the parables we talk about. A sower went out to sow seed. Is that something that really happened?
Sure.
Yeah, they throw it in a draw net. Does that really happen? Yeah. A father could have 2 sons and he tells them to go work with that. Well, of course that could happen. You see, the thing that I want us to understand is when you're talking with people, is you say, Jesus never used anything that wasn't real. Like he didn't say, there was this UFO and that came, that landed on the planet. These 2 creatures came out, in order to teach a spiritual story. He didn't use something that was not real, is the point. He used things that people could relate to, as Amy was talking about, everyday things. And so if we talk about this and they say, well, I think it's a parable, fine. Because what you find within this passage, we're going to say, well, is Jesus using things that are true, that would be real? Well, he would have to. We're going to say that they didn't die? No. That there's not a place called Hades? That there isn't a place where the soul goes after you die? And so when it comes right down to it, we know it's a story. If they say it's a parable, it's not going to change any of the truths contained in it. Okay. A lot of things. I know we're not going to get through everything tonight because there's so many great things that we're going to study in this story tonight. First thing that I want us to do is I want us to contrast the rich man and Lazarus before they died. Okay? So describe to me the rich man before he died. What can you basically tell me about him? He was rich,
Finely dressed, fine.
finely dressed,
Well fed.
well fed, pretty much had anything that he wanted, right? I mean, that's what the rich people do. I mean, they have all the comforts. And so, and what could you tell me about the rich man's health as opposed to Lazarus?
The rich man's health, it's very essential, see, so I guess he was well fed, he was.
Yeah, the contrast I'm trying to get to say, even though it's not saying it, but the contrast I want to say, because Lazarus, what was his condition physically?
Yeah, full of sores.
Yeah, he was not well. He was not a well man,
No.
okay? And the dogs came and licked his sores. That's not the condition of the rich man, okay? So I just want us to picture here, and I don't know what kind of health conditions he had. That doesn't really matter at this time because he's going to be saying to the fact that, you know, what we're going to notice in a moment of what they have in common. But again, what can you tell me about Lazarus before he died? What was that?
He was hungry.
He was hungry. He sure was. And because he was hungry, he did what? He was a beggar, okay? He was a beggar. Is there anything else you can tell me? I think we're missing two obvious things between these two guys. And think of the whole parable, Nicole.
Lazarus knew the rich man because he was at the rich man's gate.
That's a good point. I like that because that'll come into play after they die. Okay. Anything else you can tell me about these two men? Lori?
The Pharisees considered that if you were that wealthy and well off, that you were considered righteous.
Right. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure that what's happening here after death was a shock to the rich man. But we're kind of getting on the right track. What can you tell me about these two people prior to them dying? Spiritually? Amy?
Lazarus must have been righteous in order to be rewarded,
You got it. And the rich man?
not righteous.
Okay, see, we need to keep that in our minds here. I want to clear up a misconception. Are we trying to teach in this parable that all poor people are faithful? No. Is a person considered faithful just because he's poor? No, that's important to keep in mind throughout all of this. I guess you could say the same thing about the rich. I mean, are they automatically considered unfaithful because they have money? Well, of course not. That's not the case. But I want us to keep that in mind because prior to him dying, it just goes to show you that even though you're poor and you're sick, you can still love God. You can still be faithful to God. You can still have a hope of heaven. No, this has no bearing on the spiritual blessings we have in Christ. Surprisingly, though, that's really not the way people look at it. Surprisingly, Trey, what is the attitude when a person's like this?
Oh, that they're righteous and that.
But if they're poor, you know, a lot of people, you know, are thinking in terms of, you know, either God's punishing me.
That God is not looking.
God has
favorably
abandoned
upon them.
me. Right. I'm going to blame God for all of my problems, my financial woes. I mean, what kind of God is allowing me here to beg for food from a rich man's table? And but you're getting a little bit prior to his death again. I'm focusing on this. I got time on the clock so we can talk about the different aspects. There's some godly quality can be seen in this person's life before he died. Does anybody catch it? Did you catch the godly quality within this person before he died, Trey?
Well, the only thing I can think of is that the angels carried him.
Well, that was after he died, okay? But there's something while he was alive that demonstrates godliness. What did he desire from the rich man? Dan?
Crumbs.
What's that tell you?
He was humble.
Why was he humble?
He didn't want to see the rich man torn down or for himself to be elevated to the same plane as the rich man. He was just looking for enough to survive on.
Wait a minute. Poor man. You got 2 cars, give me 1. You got steak, give me steak. Well, no. What kind of attitude is that?
Political.
It's entitlement. It's entitlement. I'm entitled to have what you have because you're rich. I don't have it, so you should give it to me. I tell you, folks, I like Lazarus because his disposition was, I'll settle for the crumbs that fall from the rich man's table. I'm not having this attitude about, you got it, you give it to me. You know, no, not at all. And that comes across. And of course, what we notice the ungodliness with the rich man because he didn't even care. Dan.
And so if we go back in verse 20, it says that Lazarus was laid at the gate. So I don't want to, read too far into that,
Right.
but there's certainly, that certainly seems to imply that there was some expectation that the rich man would offer something to him, some sort of care.
Right. And hoping for it. I think that's it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with wanting help, okay? I mean, we see that throughout the New Testament, and helping the poor. And Jesus even used himself as an example. When I was hungry, you fed me. When I was thirsty, you gave me drink. When I was in prison, you visited me often. He uses all these examples that, okay, there come situations where you may have to beg when you need something. I've been in situations like that, even financially. But that's what family does, and family can help you out. And but you're right, good points there. Now, having said that, we need to spend some time talking about, let's first talk about the differences after they died now. What can you tell me about the differences after the two men perished? Or what did they have in common? Let's talk about that point first. What did these two people have in common prior to them dying? Do they have anything in common?
Each had a soul.
Okay. 1, they each had a soul. 2, anything else you can tell me prior to them dying? How about God knew them? Did God know them? God knew them. Okay. They knew their life before, because that was talked about Abraham. We brought that up. So God knew about that. What else can you tell me about them? Well, while they lived, they were accountable to God. They were accountable for their actions. We know that. That's what they have in common. That's what we're not the differences right now. The rich and the poor, okay? And there's a big one here, which is the main part of the story. What do they have in common? Death. Death. Death will come to everybody. Got a passage for that one?
Leave it appointed once for man to die, and then the judgment.
Where's that?
Tell me.
I'll give you the book, Hebrews. We got a chapter? 9:27. Okay, so anything else that they have in common? This rich man and this poor man. Let me see if I missed anything. Oh, yeah. Almost missed this one. And it's right at the very end. Right at the very end. What can you tell me about these two people, what they had in common?
Buried.
They're what?
They were buried.
Yeah, that's true. They were both buried. But what about when he was telling him, when he was saying to Abraham, send him back to my brothers?
Moses and the prophets.
Did they both have that? They both had Moses and the prophets. Why? For what reason? To learn.
Yeah, wow.
To learn. Right? They both had, Lazarus, rich and poor, you have access to the truth. You have access to the truth. Person says, if I was rich, and that's why I was trying to make the point when I was preaching that sermon. I did a quick review on Sunday morning, but that's what I was preaching on that Tuesday night of the election. Regardless of the election, the gospel is still going to have the power to save. And people think, well, it'll have more power the better the country is. Wrong. That's just false. That's just false. Matter of fact, in a lot of places, the better off you are in this world, you get comfortable. But anyways, getting back to this, that these two people, what did they have in common? The same message, the same source of finding the truth. Nobody in this whole world has an advantage over somebody else when it comes to finding the truth. You don't have an advantage. You don't have a special source. People want, remember, you get into those discussions. People want the Lord talking to them personally, right? We all have the Word of God. We have that in common. So there's no advantage. You see, what the rich man wanted from Lazarus to go back and tell his brothers, what was he wanting his brothers to have? An advantage. Hey, send them back. Send them back, because I think they'll listen to Lazarus. And he said, oh, no. They've got Moses and the prophets. If they want to know the truth, your brothers can find it if they want. Okay? All right. That stuff's all good. Powerful. Man, we've only touched the tip of the iceberg of what we want to learn tonight, because you get into these discussions all the time, and this isn't rocket science. And I don't know what Hades looks like. I don't know what it looks like, but I'm drawing a circle. Okay? I have no idea. But I'm just going to say, this is the Hadean realm. What do you know about the Hadean realm? What do you know about Hades from our story?
Abraham's there.
There's a gulf, right? Fixed. What can you tell me about that gulf?
Nobody can pass from one to the other.
Oh, so who's ever in here, they can't pass over, and the others, they cannot go over. Okay? What else can you tell me about this? I think we need to get a little more specific now.
You can see, really, basically.
Okay, so you can see across, which
You can recognize.
you can recognize. All right. Let's get back to the basic fundamentals. What's in Hades? What's in the Hadean realm?
Torment.
Okay, so we've got a place of comfort, all right, and a place of torment. There any torment? If there is, you'll have to add it yourself. Okay, so comfort and torment. Remember Hades. Where'd Jesus go when he died?
Comfort, paradise.
How do you know he went to Hades? We need something that tells me that Jesus went to Hades. This passage doesn't tell me Jesus went to Hades. He hasn't even died yet. Anybody know where it says Jesus went to Hades? Open your Bibles. We're going to Acts. We're going to the 2nd chapter. Acts 2. What's it read in verse 27, Trey?
For you will not leave my soul in Hades, nor will you allow your Holy One to see corruption.
All right. So Jesus died and went to Hades. So here's Jesus. What else could you call this place? What else could you call this place?
Paradise.
Paradise. We'll get to Jesus, or Abraham, but paradise. Now, why would you call it paradise?
Well, Jesus called it paradise.
We will be in paradise with him.
Yeah, so we also know that the thief is in here, right? Because he says, today, you're going to be with me in paradise. And so Jesus went here, the thief went here, he called it paradise. Well, I thought he went to Hades. He did go to Hades. Now, you guys got to stay alert on this one, because this is good fundamental principles here. If you're studying with somebody and they got a King James version of the Bible, what does it say? They use the term hell. Okay? And we tell people, did Jesus go to hell? No. You see, there's the problem when you got the King James version. Every time you use the word Hades, they want to insert the word hell, and it's a poor rendition of it. And so what we're finding is that when the Hadean realm, it's a realm, okay? And who goes here? Well, those who have died. Everybody that has died since the beginning of time, other than those who were just taken to be with the Lord, everybody is either here or here right now. Okay? So let's talk about what this story, it's not parable. What does this story tell us in detail about, and you guys already mentioned a few things, all right? Let's talk a little bit about what's it going to be like, okay? From the story, I want the information that you mentioned. What can we know about being in these places? You already mentioned this is a place of comfort and this is a place of torment.
Flames.
It uses the word flame, right? What else can you tell me? You can talk about either one. Amy?
Either way, it's immediate.
It's immediate. I like that. Okay. Okay. So that's good. It happens right away. The body cannot, the body without the spirit is dead, James chapter 2. And so when a body is dead, we know the spirit is gone and we know it goes here or here. From the story, what else can you tell me?
There's no end to it in the torment.
Okay.
How would you,
Yeah, we know judgment day is coming, right? We know judgment day is coming. But yeah, it's eternal. Okay. Now I know this isn't eternal. This is temporary until judgment day, because that's what he talks about in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. When he says the dead will rise first. From where? Here. Okay, the dead are going to rise from the dead will rise first, and then we which are alive will meet them in the air. We will be changed, because 1 Corinthians chapter 15 says, flesh and blood shall not inherit the kingdom of heaven. So this mortal must put on immortality. And so at the end of time, okay, just want you to picture, at the end of time, they rise, and then we that are alive, okay, we rise and meet them in the air, and it's called Judgment Day. Now, we're going to use this concept of eternal that Denise was talking about, because when we think about our judicial system, when you think about a judgment case or going to court, how long can that go on for? Yeah. How quick will Judgment Day be? Yeah, people think, I want to be at the end of the line. If I'm not prepared, quick, instant.
It happens all at once for everybody.
For everybody. For everybody. So, what else can you tell me from the story? What can you learn about people or the souls? Tell me what you can learn about the souls after death. Tony, give me.
The angels carried the poor man
Into Abraham's bosom. Okay. And that's why we're talking about how the souls from, that's a long time ago. And there's Abraham. There's Abraham that is there. And that tells me something. I don't know if you're going to think about this, Amy. So you're going to speak in a second. But you don't lose your identity when you die. Okay? You're still who you are. Abraham's still Abraham. Thousands of years later, still there. When I die, Chuck, that's it. I'm there. Hopefully I'm here. What are we going to say, Amy?
Ditto.
Ditto. Okay. Trey?
But we only have the example that the rich man can see to the other side.
Correct.
Because I don't think it would be very comforting for the poor man, or anyone else for that matter, to see that torment.
Exactly. And I have brought that up in discussions with people, because we've got the 5 brothers over here. He's aware of what's going on up here. He's aware of what's going on over here, right? Now, he doesn't have, he's not speaking to them. I don't want to get into this, the whole subject of ghosts and everything. And I heard a voice. My aunt talked to me, and she's been dead for 20 years. I'm not going there right now, but anyway. But yeah, there's awareness. But yeah, if I'm in a place of comfort, would there be joy in? No, family members who have missed it. Okay, but I do want to focus on this, because since Trey brought him up, there's an awareness down here, isn't there? Like when you're dead, you're not like our JW friends would say, well, you're dead all over like Rover. What can you tell me about this consciousness? You guys have already said a few, but from this story, what do you learn?
Well, he sees Abraham, so obviously he can see across the gulf.
So he can see across.
And he can see his family.
Sees his family. But tell me about, so he has an awareness, he's conscious. what did you just say, Trey? You said
Crying,
he's hurting.
not suffering.
He's suffering, isn't he? He's, what's that?
Concern.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting too, that you can even have compassion in that situation. What did he want Lazarus to do?
To dip his finger in water.
Dip his finger in water, right?
Hold his tongue.
Cool my tongue, for I'm tormented in this flame. Have you guys ever been really, really thirsty on a hot day? I mean, really, really thirsty? What would somebody dipping their finger in water and touching your tongue, what would that do for you? So what does that tell you about the story? There's something very powerful here.
He's desperate.
Desperate, and wanted any kind of relief. As small as that seems, I'll take any kind of relief. And was he going to get any?
No.
Not an ounce, not a drop, no relief. You would think, okay, our God in heaven looks at this, and by the way, have people been suffering for thousands of years?
Yeah.
Is God aware of this?
Yeah.
Hey, isn't he going to, I mean, surely he's going to cut him some slack by now. No. So what really big lesson is jumping out at us? Mark?
We have a choice now before we die, and God gave us the path to get to Him.
Exactly. And what do we have to take seriously?
It's eternity.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what, if we don't look at sin seriously, if we don't understand the consequences, this story should really open up our eyes within all of this. I mean, it is just, it's so powerful, because that's something else that we're learning about this, is that what happens, yeah, you guys say what happens at death, this is what happens at death. But I think there's something more to it than that. What happens at death? There's one more point that relates to this story that it brings up. What's going to happen at death?
Body goes back to the dust, and the spirit goes up to God.
That's true.
There's no more chances. I mean,
It's set. You're not changing. You're not changing a thing. Thousands of years, and even after this, and I don't know how long this world is going to continue on. I don't know how long the Hadean realm will be in place until Judgment Day. I don't know. But once Judgment Day comes, where are these people going? They're going to heaven. Where are they going?
no.
Okay. Now, we use this concept, because Matthew chapter 25 talks about eternal. Can you guys grasp eternity? Can you try to grasp eternity? I only had a guy one time, and it's amazing. It's stuck in my head ever since. Because it's hard for us to grasp something with no ending. But a guy told me one time, he says, if you could just picture an ant on the moon, if you could do this, walk from the moon all the way here, pick up a grain of sand on the earth and take it all the way back and drop it off on the moon, and did that till all the earth was on the moon, you haven't even begun to touch eternity. Well, that starts to fry the brain of thinking on and on and on. Well, that's kind of comforting. That's kind of terrible. Disheartening when you think of this. I mean, it's an eye-opener. Dean, what are you going to say?
What you were saying there, I know maybe nobody thinks the way I do, but just to think about no life. In other words, you pass away, and that's the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's alarming in itself. Just at the end of it, we can't see that.
No. And we've never experienced it.
No.
It's something that we know when a loved one, as soon as they die, they're experiencing something that they have never experienced ever. And we have that awaiting us. It's a lot of mixed feelings when we study something like this, because we know people You know, just Monday, I actually had an article that related to it, so it was just a small paragraph I put in the bulletin this week. But Monday, I got a phone call from my mom, and she was crying, and my uncle passed away. But my Aunt Pat and my uncle they were just in Home Depot, bought some tile. He just put down 2 tile. He said, I've got to sit down. My aunt said, he never took another breath. 1 minute you're here, the next minute you're gone. But here's the point. Here's what happens when you die. They're looking at a shell. Okay? You guys, we all have a soul. Somebody mentioned that. I wrote it down somewhere. Oh, I did, and then I erased it. We all have a soul, and it's going to one of the two. Dan.
And at that point, everybody is now a believer.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, you're not hearing a lot of ridiculing here, are you? Making fun. Another thing, is this guy alone?
No.
Well, aren't they partying?
No.
Why not? I mean, you got a lot of friends. I mean, even if you're tormented, isn't there some kind of comfort if let's just say all of us came down with boils all over our body. I mean, boils on all our body from head to toe. Isn't there going to be comfort? Brian, aren't you going to feel a little comfort knowing that I'm suffering too? No? No. It's true. You know, especially if I'm, you know me, when I get the flu, I'm throwing up and I'm in the hospital. But I'm telling you what, if I'm throwing up and Debbie comes up and says, Chuck, I got news for you. Tony's throwing up too. Oh, that makes me feel better. No, it doesn't. Knowing that somebody else is suffering isn't making you feel any better. And I've had people tell me that. I've had people tell me, cold and calcium, hey, if I go to hell, I'm not going to be alone. True. But there's no comfort in that. You can't find it. Jane?
Well, number one, first thing is you don't have to wait till you go to hell to suffer. Right? The way you've drawn that there.
Yeah.
I wanted to make another point. And oh yeah, do you feel that most people don't know that something's going to happen until the hell part?
There's no question.
So they say that can go on forever and ever and ever and ever. In other words, until the judgment and go to hell, I'm not going to be in torment.
That's right.
But that's not what this is saying.
And that's true. And there's 2 points in there, Gene. I'm going to tell you, I have been to a lot of funerals. And I have heard people preach people into heaven. First of all, you can't preach anybody into heaven because you can't. But also you can't. It's not art. I cannot read the hearts of anybody. The most faithful person in the world. And I, if I was capable, I probably wouldn't be capable. Somebody else would do. But if I was preaching Debbie's funeral, I'm not preaching her into heaven. I may know her, and but I that's not my job. I can't play judge. And there's a lot of comfort when we say that these people fall into the hands of a just God. That's true, but we can't preach anybody into heaven. And also, you can't preach them into heaven because they don't go to heaven, they go to Hades. And that's going to be immediate. I mean, immediate. And then you find, and this is important here, what was he doing while he was here? There's something else that was important that relates to him. There's a word in there. What did he do when he talked to Abraham? Yeah. Did you notice that he used the word? He said, I beg you. Listen, do you think all the begging for thousands and thousands of years and pleading with God that you're going to get released from this punishment? It's not going to work. Prisoners today behind bars, you can cry your eyes out. You're still going to stay behind bars. This has to be one of the most serious studies we could ever have because it's facing each and every one of us here. We have to be prepared for death because when are you going to die? When are you going to die? You don't know? But are you going to die? If our Lord doesn't come back, we're all going to have a funeral. Every one of us. Some maybe sooner than others. Don't know. Okay? That's the uncertainty. But the certainties that we have here of what's being transpired, you know, he's tormented in the flame, verse 25. Remember that in your lifetime you received the good things, and likewise Lazarus the evil things, but now he is comforted and you're tormented. He talks about this gulf that we've been discussing. Also, he mentions about his 5 brothers. Well, that's interesting. Now, there's a path. The reason I want to focus right here for a moment, because you may find yourself in Bible studies or in conversations with people, and they'll talk about it, which I've been engaged in, where they'll say, Chuck, I can't accept what you're saying, because if I accept what you're saying, I'm saying Nana is here. And that may very well be the case. From this story, what could you say? I think there's something powerful you could say to that person.
The rich man didn't want to come.
What do you say, Tom?
Nana wants you to do what's right and always comfort,
How do you know that?
because of what he was saying about his brothers.
That's right. That's exactly right. You would take them to this story and you'd say, now look, this brother didn't want his brothers to come here. And you'd say, now listen, God is the judge, but if Nana is here, does she want you to come here? The answer is no. Now you can say, well, I want to go there anyway. Well, that's not going to help her. That wasn't going to help him. You know, he's looking for some kind of relief. He wants his finger dipped in water. Why are you asking for water? Ask for, if you're going to get some comfort, ask for your brothers to come here. Well, they're going to be there if they don't listen to Moses and the prophets. They're going to be here. But there was no comfort to be found in that. And so that, to me, is a tool that you and I can use to try to tell people, well, let's see how these people are. And Nicole.
I have a question.
Sure.
I mean, you've been kind of been talking about, you know, there's no comfort in other people suffering, but can we really tell from the story if they're aware of, if he's aware of other people there with him? You know what I mean? Like, we can see that he's aware of heaven.
Sure.
And he's aware of
Sure.
the outside, but I mean, it might just be that's part of the suffering is that isolation, that even though there's other people there, I mean,
It's
he
true.
might not be aware of those other people, just like people in paradise aren't aware of the torment.
And that's very possible. And here's something that you made me think of with that. This is where you have to be careful, because the Bible gives us descriptive terms in a spirit realm, but we're in a physical realm, right? And so how can you have flame, and it's also called darkness in passages? We talk about hell. You know, the devil and his angels cast into the lake of fire, and then, of course, it's called a place of darkness. How can you have darkness and flame at the same time? Well, because in the physical realm, that's all we can muster up. And so I do like what you're talking about there, Nicole, that in the spirit realm, you know, you got Hollywood, you get people painting pictures of what they think it's going to look. I have no idea what the spirit realm is going to be like. I don't even know what it looks like here. Does he just see Abraham? I don't know what the conditions are like, but to me, it's even more frightening to think that I can be here, even though I'm with a lot of people, but I'm suffering darkness, isolated. Even if I could, because there's a lot we don't know. But even if I could, there's no comfort. Bernice?
So they could talk. I mean, you know, they could, you know, they divided, but they.
At least with the rich man.
Seriously, I don't know what they.
At least with the rich man, he was able to look across and call out to Father Abraham. Okay. Now, that did say something, Trey, that you were wondering about, because you were thinking it was just one way. But Abraham could see.
But in verse 26, it says, and besides all this, between us and you, there is a great chasm filled in order that those who wish to come over here to you may not cross over.
Right.
And none from them cross over.
Correct, true.
So wouldn't that imply that they can see?
Right.
It's possible. It's possible.
I mean,
Because,
to me, that
again, it doesn't
would imply-
contradict the fact that Abraham was having a conversation with this guy, that he could look across and see what was going on.
Because he saw Lazarus.
He saw Lazarus.
Because obviously he did, because he wanted Lazarus to dip his finger, so he saw
Yeah.
him. So,
Yeah, and of course, what Trey was talking about earlier is and there's some of this stuff we don't have answers for, but I'll tell you this much. We have a lot more answers than we have questions. And this clears up so many things in our minds. It's the little things, I don't know the details. I can't even tell you what a soul looks like. I drew a picture, a stick man here. I don't know what a soul looks like, but I know you have one. And I know I have one. I know Lazarus had one. I know the rich man had one. And I know the soul, for some reason, the soul that isn't flesh and blood can suffer. It can suffer. Does it have a literal tongue? So does the soul look like it? Because he said, cool my tongue, right? Let him touch his finger. You get into all those things, but the fact of the matter is it doesn't take anything away from the facts that we know. Gene?
This may sound silly, but did you ever have a dream that, real?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it was, the car's backing into the river or whatnot. It's real. And you wake up and you said, boy, I'm glad that was a dream. What I'm saying is, I don't know what the soul looks like or whatever, but that may be the closest that we could get to where, that's real. And if you're just having that dream and you're going to be hurt, I mean, you're going to feel it, you're going to get hurt, it's going to be like that you're alive. And so that's weird, I know. But
Well, the whole thing is because we've never experienced it. We've never seen it. But folks, this is real. You and I need to be prepared because we'll be held accountable for it. And this is a message that hopefully we can learn from 2 Corinthians chapter 5. Therefore, knowing the terror of the Lord, we persuade men. And I hope that's exactly what it does for us. I appreciate your participation. The question sheets for next week are up the back.
I see your
you made the map.
very bad.
Okay.
I'll take it. Thank you.
Good evening. If you would, take out your songbooks and mark them to number 520. Number 520 will be used as our song of encouragement at the appropriate time. After you have that mark, open your songbooks up to number 551. Number 551. Rescue the perishing. Rescue the perishing, care for the dying, snatch them and pity from sin and the grave. Weep for the erring one, lift up the fallen, tell them of Jesus the mighty to save. Rescue the perishing, care for the dying, Jesus is merciful, Jesus will save. Though they are citing him, still he is waiting, waiting the penitent child to receive. Plead with them earnestly, plead with them gently. He will forgive if they truly believe. Rescue the perishing, care for the dying. Jesus is merciful, Jesus will save. Down in the human heart, crushed by the tender feelings, but there is that grace can restore. Touched by a loving hand, wakened by kindness, cords that were broken will vibrate once more. Rescue the perishing, care for the dying. Jesus is merciful, Jesus will save. Rescue the perishing, duty demands it. Strength for thy labor, the Lord will provide. Back to the narrow way, patiently win them. Tell the poor wanderer a Savior has died. Rescue the perishing, care for the dying. Jesus is merciful, Jesus will save.
After the discussion that we had in the adult class, I feel very little qualified to I don't know what to say. Except that that's very important that all of us, that if we've not obeyed the gospel, that we think very seriously of that. Let's look at James, the 4th chapter. I was reading here in the 4th chapter of James, and the lighter part of that chapter talks about the uncertainty of life. Starting verse 13. Go to now, ye that say, today or tomorrow we will go into such a city and continue there a year, and buy and sell and get gain.
Whereas you know not what shall be on the morrow. For what is your life? It is even a vapor that appeareth for a little time, and then vanisheth away. Or that you ought to say, if the Lord will, we shall live and do this or do that. But now you rejoice in your boastings. All such rejoicing is evil. Therefore, to him that knoweth to do good and doeth it not, to him it is sin. I'm sure all of you, with the news that we had here since Sunday about this family coming home from the band thing in Indianapolis, which Betty and I made that trip several times during our years, of what happened. In other words, this was Saturday, what was Sunday morning that the accident happened. And I'm sure they had plans what to do Sunday, maybe get with family. They had plans. They had 2 daughters in there with them. One of them didn't make it. I've been in that situation a lot of times with 3 kids, 8 grandkids. I remember at one time back in earlier years when they're small, they would all come to the house, and at one period I rented a 15-passenger van. And we all went to the park over here, and we all for about a week. I did that because I didn't want taking 3 cars, the daughter-in-law, driving, because I was afraid of an accident. So I rented a van and I put everybody in there. And when we started off, I got to thinking, I said, man, there's a lot of pressure here. You know? So things happen all the time. We hear of things happen all the time. We don't know when our life's going to be taken. So it's very important that if we're not ready, then we get ready and not take a chance. I've talked to people in the past about this, and they say, "Well, I felt I want till I know more." And I said, "Well, what do you want to know? Do you believe that Jesus is the Son of God?" Yeah. Do you believe there's a hell after this life or heaven? Yeah. But you still want to wait. So life is very uncertain. Luke, the 12th chapter, I picked that out. Luke 12:40. Jesus, it's in red, so Jesus said it. Be ye therefore ready also, for the Son of Man cometh at an hour when you think not. The 17th chapter of John, Jesus prayed for all of us. John, the 17th chapter. I read that chapter a lot myself, where he had come and he'd finished his work, and he prayed for the apostles that he was sending out. And then starting with the 20th verse, It says, neither pray I for these alone. In other words, talking about the ones he'd sent out, his apostles. Just for them also which shall believe. Neither pray I for these, but for them also which shall believe on me through their word. In other words, believe on the ones that he sent out, the teachers. That they all may be one, as thou, Father, art in me, and I in thee, that they also may be one in us. That the world may believe that thou hast sent me. And the glory which thou gavest me, I have given them, that they may be one, even as we are one. So here Jesus is praying for us. In other words, he had a concern for us and wanted us to obey the gospel and do the right things so that we could have a home in heaven. The invitation, of course, is always open day and night. But every time we get together, we talk some about it and give an invitation. But if anybody ever has a desire, I'm sure Chuck's done a lot of baptism all during the night and whatnot. But the key is that we get ready. I was 14 when I obeyed the gospel. So that was 69 years ago. And it's just like your marriage. It's like your job at work. It's like everything else in life. You got to stay on top of it. I can't get my age and say, I've been Christian for 69 years and I should be able to kind of slack off a little bit. No, you can't do that. I mean, you have to, and that's where it talks a lot about faith and that we grow in the knowledge and the grace and knowledge of God. As we grow in the grace and knowledge of God, then we become stronger, and that's what helps us on the hopefully the narrow road at the end of life. So if there's anybody here that has not obeyed the gospel, and they realize that they should, then don't put it off. It doesn't make sense. That's not a good decision. If there's anybody here that needs to, or the prayers of the church or congregation or something in their life needs to be corrected, well, this would be a good time to make the change as we stand.
Hear the sweet voice of Jesus say, come unto me, I am the way. Hearken the loving voice obey. Come, for he loves you so. Only accept, come, for he bled for you and I. He's the same loving Savior yet. Jesus the crucified, casting your heavy burden down. Come to the cross, the world may frown. when he comes out to his own. Only yourself, come Lord, be bled for you and I. He's the same loving Savior yet, Jesus the crucified. Open for you the pearly gate, lost ones for you. Now watch and wait, terrible thought to cry too late. Jesus, I come to thee. Only yourself, come for he bled for you and I. He's the same loving Savior yet, Jesus the crucified.
Before we're dismissed, we'll have a few announcements. If you're visiting with us, we're thankful for your presence. We'll be meeting again on Sunday at 9 for Bible study, and then at 10 for worship services, and 4 p.m. that afternoon. And if you're able, we'll be glad to have you there at that time. As far as the sick list, the only one I knew was James Carter from Sunday. Don't know if he's still sick or not. Okay, Nancy was mentioned during Bible study that she's sick. Let's remember her. We still have a number that's out of town, especially Tim. Janet will be leaving tomorrow. And I thought there were some others.
Matt's out of town.
Matt's out of town, and I think that's it.
Yours was sick, right?
The split orders. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And the Kirby's.
And the Kirby's, that's right. I
And
don't.
the right track.
Okay, I should have just went over the list of those who were here.
Yeah.
I don't have.
Business meeting Saturday.
Yes, business meeting here at 7 p.m. Saturday night. Men's business meeting. Don't have anything else, and since Jesse's out of town, I'm going to ask Mark if he would to lead us in closing prayer.
Our merciful Father, who art in heaven, Lord, we humble ourselves before you, thanking you for this day of life you've given us, Father, for this opportunity we've had this evening as your children to assemble in quiet this place, set aside the cares of this life, open your word, study it, to realize that you are the creator of the universe, all of its splendor and wonder, and yet you are mindful of us on this small little globe in the middle of this vast cosmos that you created. It is humbling, Father, for us when we think of the fact that you care for us as you look out across the vastness of your creation. While we were still your enemies, you were willing to send the very best that you had, that being your Son Jesus to the cross. Pray, Father, that as we part this place, we would give careful consideration to that fact that our salvation was at great cost, incalculable cost. And help us, Father, as we live our lives to be mindful of these things. Help us to follow in that perfect example of love that he left us, the perfect example of servitude. We know, Father, that he was a suffering servant while he was here, but he would return as a conquering king. And that every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess. We will each take our turn, Father, giving an account of the life that we have and how we live. Help us to be mindful, Father. Just help us to be busy preparing for that day. Be mindful, Father, of the great sorrow in our community, of the tragic death of individuals that you did not. We pray for those, the family and friends of those individuals, that you will comfort them, and that they will find the strength to continue on get back to as much normalcy as possible in your lives. But it's got to always be remembered that you did not want this world. That you created man and woman, put them in the garden, perfect environment, and we could not keep our unity. And yet you still were willing to send Christ to us. But help us, Father, to be mindful of these things as we live our daily lives. We ask for your mercy on our souls. Please forgive us when we failed you. We make this prayer in Jesus' most holy name. Amen. Good job.
Yeah, I just have signed.